Hi, everyone. Because it's International Sabbath, I brought the ingredients for pancit. Yes. And if you are unfamiliar with pancit, it is the yummiest Filipino dish. Now, this is the way that I was taught to make it, but I'm sure families have their own, recipes, okay? So we'll start really easy. Pack of vermicelli, right? Now, I also like to put in some flour sticks, just for the texture and also the color, okay? Cabbage, carrots. Some people actually put green beans, they diagonally slice, and it's basically any of the veg that you can find in your refrigerator. So onions, garlic, and your choice of protein. So today we're going to be using tofu, right? And then you put things like soy sauce and some roasted sesame oil for that umami. And then if you don't know what kind of seasoning to use, you can always go with Mamacita's pancit bihon seasoning. Okay? That's if you're unsure of how to use your spices at home. So do you want to taste some pancit? Okay. Come tonight at 5. And I promise you, you will see the pancit, and you'll know it's mine because you'll see the yellow ones in it too, okay? So this is our ingredients for pancit, and my favorite, I'm gonna cover this so you won't get distracted. I have a really favorite story about pancit. Would you like to hear it? Okay. Let me show you a picture of this. Oh, look at that. In grade 12, I went to Crawford Adventist Academy in Toronto. Yes, I live for Crawford Adventist Academy. And in grade 12, they always had an international food fair. And we were doing this to raise funds for our class trip that never happened. And the night before, my best friend called me and says, hey, don't forget to bring serving utensils for the food fair. And I said, what are you talking about? She's like, the food fair is tomorrow. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I hung up the phone and I went to my dad, who's like the best cook ever. And I said, Dad, can you make pancit for me for school? He said, yeah, no problem. When? I said, tomorrow? And he looked at me, and he was kind of silent, and he was not impressed. And he said, okay, I'll see what I can do, what we have in the fridge. I said, thanks, Dad. And the next morning, my dad was getting ready for work, and he had cooked me a huge, the big foil tray of pancit. And usually I walk to school, but because I had this big tray of pancit, he said, I'm going to drop you off. But I have to tell you something about the pancit. I didn't have green cabbage. And I said, okay, that's fine. And he goes, wait, I used what we had in the fridge, a purple cabbage. And then I peeled back the foil of the pancit, and the pancit was, I'm not joking, dark purple. The whole tray. And I was like, oh, Dad, I can't bring this to school. And he goes, listen, it tastes the same. So you're bringing it, and you can't show up with anything. Let's go. And so I took this big, huge foil tray of purple pancit, and they had these tables all lined up in our cafeteria, and all the grade 12s were putting their food on it and saying how much it costs and what it is. And I was so embarrassed that I just put the tray of pancit and I left it covered, and then I went all the way to the other tables and started helping over there because I didn't want to be associated with the purple pancit. So 12 o'clock rolls around, and people start coming, and everyone loved the food fair because it's not calf food, right? So people brought their money, and the elementary students are coming, and the staff are coming, and they're looking at the rice and peas like, yes, I want some of that. And they would move and say, yes, I'll have some lasagna. And they would move down, and they would see the purple pancit, and they'd just keep walking. And they say, I'll take some brownies, I'll take some cookies. And after an hour, people are like scraping the curry tray because they just, whatever's left, they'll take it. All the roti's gone. And guess what happened to the purple pancit? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. No one wanted it. Same flavors, same Filipino goodness, same dad chef, but because it looked different, people ignored it, criticized it, and that tray of pancit remained untouched. And when I think about this, I think that we all have moments of feeling different, of feeling out of place, being overlooked, being ignored, being not what people expected. In Exodus 2, it tells us about a man who didn't fit anywhere, didn't fit in. Let's go to Exodus 2, and we're going to look at a short narrative here, verses 15 to 22. And we're just going to take a portion of Moses' life. The Bible tells us that he's born Hebrew, but he's raised Egyptian. He's rejected by Pharaoh. He's misunderstood by his own people, and now he is alone in Midian. He's in between cultures, in between identities. He doesn't belong anywhere with anyone. Now, you remember how Moses' life began, right? As soon as he's born, people want to kill him. So his mom hides him in a basket in the river. And then Pharaoh's daughter's like, yes, I'll take him, please. So she adopts him, and he is raised as royalty in the Egyptian palace. And as an adult, he can feel the tension of not belonging to either culture. And then he sees an Egyptian beating a Hebrew man, and he's like, oh my goodness, he gets in there and he kills the guy. And instead of gaining favor with his own people, instead of thanks, they reject him and they criticize him. Verse 15, and I'm going to read this, is from the Common English Bible. When Pharaoh heard about it, he tried to kill Moses, but Moses ran away from Pharaoh and settled down in the land of Midian. One day, when Moses was sitting by a well, now there was a Midianite priest who had 7 daughters, and the daughters came to draw water and filled the troughs so that their father's flock could drink. But some shepherds came along and rudely chased them away. Moses got up, rescued the women, and gave their flock water to drink. Who are the Midianites? Well, the Nelson Bible Dictionary say that the Midianites were nomadic people in the Old Testament. They were descendants of Midian. And Midian was a son of Abraham and Keturah. So that means that the Midianites were distant relatives of the Israelites. When they went back home to their father Reuel, who is also known as Jethro, he asked, how were you able to come back so soon today? And they replied, an Egyptian man rescued us from a bunch of shepherds. Afterward, he even helped us draw water to let the flock drink. Reuel said to his daughters, so where is he? Why did you leave this man? Invite him to have a meal with us. I'd like us to consider this morning, not the ingredients for pancit, but 3 ingredients of belonging or for belonging. Because as believers of Jesus, we want this community to be a place of worship, to be a place of service, fellowship, and belonging. We don't just want to attend here. We want to belong here. So 3 key ingredients this morning. The first one is courage. Now, because this group of disrespectful shepherds were trying to drive Jethro's daughter away, Moses steps in. He sees the injustice and he's like, not on my watch. And he gets in there. He sees that they need protection and support and help. And so he steps in. This is a man who just ran away. He has a violent past. He has no backup. He has no crew, just him. And he chooses courage again. In Egypt, his courage was impulsive and destructive. It ended with somebody dying. In Midian, his courage becomes protective and restrained. Now, you and I, we live in a very different context. I can guarantee you, you and I will never need the courage to rescue someone from bully shepherds. This is not our context, but we will need the courage to not compare ourselves to others, the courage to let go of perfectionism, the courage to volunteer even when we feel unqualified. Commercial break. In your bulletins. Kindergarten Sabbath school teacher leader needed. In big, bold caps, it says, really need. We need the courage to volunteer even when we feel like we don't have the skills to do so. We need the courage to admit when we're wrong, to face our biases, the courage to ask for help, the courage to fail, the courage to set healthy boundaries, the courage to let go and let God take over. What do you need courage for? Even though Moses had made some awful choices, carrying all kinds of regret and insecurity and shame, he chooses to courageously stand up and protect. And then he's like, okay, I'll also get water for the animals. This wasn't 2 animals. This was animals, a couple of dozen, maybe even hundreds. For us to feel like we belong here, safe in this church community, we need courage for all kinds of things. The second ingredient. Let's read this first. Deuteronomy 31, verse 6. Be strong and courageous. Do not fear or be in dread of them, for it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. Take the word them and you replace what you need in there. Be strong and courageous. Do not fear or be in dread of paying tuition, trying to find a primary caregiver. Do not fear or be in dread of grief. Do not fear or be in dread of the choices your children make. Second ingredient, acceptance. After Moses helps Jethro's daughters at the well, and they go home, and he's like, well, somebody helped you, and you just left him there. So you need to tell him to come and have a meal with us, right? He doesn't ask Moses, hey, how come you're dressed like that? Or what's an Egyptian doing so far away from home? He doesn't ask him who he voted for. He doesn't interrogate him. He doesn't ask him about his theology or his credentials. He offers hospitality. Now, that's not to say that maybe in the future they had other conversations about his past, but before Moses ever encounters God in the wilderness, before he ever leads Israel out of Egypt, Moses is first welcomed into someone's home. Romans 15, verse 7 says this, accept one another then, just as Christ accepted you, in order to bring praise to God. You know, sometimes when we're in community, things don't always look the way we expect. Worship may sound different. Accents may carry a new rhythm. Food may look unlike what we're used to. Expressions of faith may feel culturally unique. And if we're honest, sometimes our first instinct is hesitation. Like, I don't know about that. Sometimes our first reaction is disapproval or rejection, not acceptance. Take a look at this photo, and I'm sure many of you will know who it is. Do you know who it is? Okay. This is Punch, the cutest macaque to ever exist. Punch is a young Japanese monkey at the Ichikawa City Zoo in Japan, and he went viral after videos showed him dragging around and playing with his stuffy that zookeepers gave him to make the muscles in his fingers strong because his mother had rejected him after birth. So he needed to learn to hang on to things. And so they gave him a little orangutan stuffy. Punch really struggled to bond with the other macaques. He would try and socialize with them, and they would push him away. They would actually chase after him so he would get lost. And it was so sad to watch this tiny little thing be bullied and be rejected. But recent videos show things are slowly turning around. He was actually given a hug by one of the other monkeys and was seen being groomed by others, which is a key part of macaque socialization and acceptance. Now, when these videos and news reports and pictures were being posted online and on the media, people were joking about how they're ready to buy a ticket to Japan and adopt Punch. People kept watching and crying over these videos and pictures and stories about this little guy dragging his stuffy from place to place. And when you see something like this, something in you aches. Because rejection reveals how deeply we are wired for belonging. In every church, in our communities, at work, at school, there are individuals who are trying to quietly move closer to us, to you, searching for their group of people, hoping not to be pushed away or shut down, hoping they will find a place to belong. I hope that this is the place where they can belong. Because acceptance isn't just, surface level kindness. It is the difference between isolation and belonging. The last ingredient, vulnerability. Verse 21 says this: Moses agreed to stay with the man. He could have kept wandering. He could have said, nah, I'm okay. I'm just going to chill in the desert. He could have remained guarded. He could have helped them at the well and then said, see you guys later. But instead, he stayed, and staying requires vulnerability. If acceptance creates safety, vulnerability builds relationship. And it's not easy. Brené Brown says this: staying vulnerable is a risk we have to take if we want to experience connection. That's really hard. To show up as yourself, not knowing what the feedback will be. This is a real struggle. I want to read you something that Ellen White wrote in Counsels on Christian Worldview. Fear of vulnerability often drives people to pretend, avoiding judgment, or worst of all, apathy. Christians are no exception. Many attend church dressed up, acting as if all is well. The avoidance of authenticity fosters disunity as members sidestep meaningful conversations about real-world issues. Choosing to be inauthentic inevitably makes our witness for Jesus ineffective. Shedding pretenses creates a safe space for others to do the same. When believers embrace authenticity in Christ, they form an empathetic community that draws hurting souls. Encourage your faith community to reject pretense, be genuine in Christlike love, and promote positive unity. Be part of the solution. Listen, care, and offer an encouraging hug to those struggling to be real. Moses agreed to stay with the man who gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses in marriage. Zipporah gave birth to a son, and Moses named him Gershon, saying, I have become a foreigner in a foreign land. Within these 2 sentences, Moses moves in, gets married, and starts a family. These 2 verses hold so much mystery, unspoken challenges, and divine guidance. Like, I want to know, did Moses and Zipporah date for a while? Did the other sisters want to marry him? Did the in-laws respect newlywed boundaries? Because he lived with his in-laws, right? We don't know the timeline. I want to know about all the emotions. We don't understand all of the nuanced context, but the Bible says that Moses named his son Gershom, a foreigner, a sojourner, a stranger. And in this kind of time and space in his life, before he has that burning bush experience, before he leads a nation out of oppression, he has to live as an outsider. He must live courageously without the power and the status of his upbringing. He has to depend on the hospitality and the acceptance of others and experience vulnerability. Gershom's name reminds us that even when we feel different, when we feel out of place or excluded, God is still at work, shaping us in uncertainty, meeting us in unfamiliar places, and surrounding us with people who help us belong. Take a look at this slide. The Bible is full of outsiders, people who were overlooked, rejected. Hagar in the wilderness, Joseph rejected by his own family, his brothers, Ruth the immigrant, Esther far, far away from home, the Samaritan woman at the well, the Ethiopian eunuch searching for God. Again and again, God meets people on the margins and invites them to belong. Now, all of you were given a heart sticker. If you didn't get one, can you just raise your hand, and our deacons are going to come and give you a heart sticker. I don't know if they hear me. Heart sticker. So keep your hands up, because I don't think they are paying attention to me at the moment. If you didn't get a heart sticker, just keep your hands up. And we're going to share 2 words with each other. 2 words. Here we go. Hi, I'm blank, and today I need blank. Keep your hands up if you need a sticker. So, for example, hi, I'm Liz, and today I need peace. I added some words on there just in case I don't want you to think too hard. And I'm going to invite you to give your heart away to someone here. So you actually have to interact a little bit. I actually didn't get a sticker either. So you will have to get up. Maybe it's somebody in the balcony that you want to give your heart to. Maybe it's somebody whose name you don't remember. This is the perfect time. Hi, my name is Liz. and today I need. You're just going to share 2 words with someone else. And our goal is that everybody leaves here with a heart, someone else's heart. Does that make sense? Okay. It is really special to hear the connections that happen. But I'm pretty sure that there was at least a few of us who didn't give our heart away, or who maybe didn't get a heart back. If we believe that heaven starts here, let's practice courage on behalf of one another, acceptance before assumptions, and vulnerability instead of distance.